when someone is just think that all hope is lost, how do you manage those emotions, and what do you do mentally to push forward?
I think a lot of it boils down to experience in history and context. The more you go through those challenging times, the less challenging they become, if that makes sense.
Welcome to this episode of Thundercast. Today we have Josh Solloway from Solloway Restoration and Cleaning. Josh is actually a longtime friend as well, and I'm excited to have him here. He's been on the back of my mind for quite a while. Josh, give us a quick 10,000 foot view of you and your company.
Cool. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate you asking me to be on your show here. As you said, my company, Solloway Restoration. We're based out of Southern New Hampshire, and we're a service-based company, specialized contractor. Our focus is helping families and businesses recover from property disaster. So floods, fires, mold damage, things of that nature. The easiest analogy for people who aren't familiar with our industry is a lot of people understand like the auto body shop. If you're in a accident with your car, you got to get a new bumper, dents repaired, paint, all that stuff. You bring it to the body shop. The body shop will work with your insurance company, work things out. Your car gets back repaired, and the body shop works it out, the payment with the insurance company. We do that for your home or your business, structure. So there's some kind of big fire, we come in, we document everything, we clean, fix, deodorize, whatever needs to be done. We work with your insurance company to help you through that headache and get you back to normal, get you back up and running again.
How long have you guys been in business for?
So 33 years. My father started in 1990. So I am second generation. He's still involved, for the next couple of years foreseeable. But I've been in it, obviously grew up in the business, and I've been in it full time 13 years.
Wow. Wow. So I have a quick question for you. So I watch a lot of YouTube, and lately your ads have been coming up on my YouTube. And so I see it all, and I'm like, wow, this is something I got to ask you about, because you do marketing and networking really well, like extraordinarily well. You want to give us some insights into maybe your networking and your marketing strategies that works for you?
Sure. So, marketing and all that stuff is it's very broad, and everyone would have a different answer based on their goals as a company, right? So, our goal, with all that stuff is, one, to make the phone ring. So we got to use a broad stroke approach to that, and then also we have a passion for, just because of who we are, building relationships in the community. So you mentioned networking and things of that nature. So, Jack, who's my father, and I do a lot in the community, just to build relationships with people. That could be B2B, or it could be working with nonprofits. That could be, getting involved in community service, whatever, because we genuinely enjoy that. And then the fruit of that indirectly is people get to know us, trust us, and ultimately, if the need arises, either use our services or refer us. So that's kind of one path. You said with the marketing stuff is just the relationships locally. And then on just, I guess, the more traditional market stuff you mentioned online, we do a lot to create content to educate consumers of, potential problems that we deal with, either how to avoid them, how to deal with them, how to recover from them. It's really about education. I guess it goes back to what I just said, building trust and just building a brand that we care and want to help people when and if they need it.
Wow. What would you say your investment is monthly or yearly, and how do you measure your return?
Mhm.
If you know a successful marketing strategy was successful, like what would your return be?
So just, dollar for, I'll use one example, and I, you know, don't know how specific I'll get with details, but one of the things we invest in is pay-per-click advertising on Google. So that's very specific. I'm talking on the online sphere. We also, create YouTube videos, advertise them on YouTube. We do a little bit with Facebook and other social media platforms. Not particularly my passion, but our marketing team says we got to do it, so I make sure we get it done. But for pay-per-click advertising, we have a monthly budget. It's probably about half of our sales and marketing budget on a monthly basis, and that budget is about 4 to 5% of our overall gross sales for the year. So if you kind of reverse engineer that, you can, I don't know if it applies to other people's businesses or not, but if I just say rough numbers, 4 to 5% of our gross sales, we put it into marketing. 5% of that, a half of that, which is a good chunk of our marketing budget, just goes into pay-per-click advertising. We know in our industry, people don't typically plan for these events to happen, say a flood at your house or a fire at your business. So what do a lot of people do? They turn to their best friend Google and search cleanup company for X, Y, and Z. Boom, our ad comes up. And typically, they're not really shopping. They're just, I need someone who can help me now. So they pick up the phone. Hopefully we're on the other end of that call, and then we go from there. So pay-per-click drives a lot of business our way.
So you're in one of those industries that has a lot of business to consumer and B2B, business to business, right?
Yep.
Is your marketing strategy different for each of them? I'm going to assume that it is, but how does that differ?
Correct. So, and it's a good question. It's very applicable to our business. Not every company in our space is the same or has the same client mix, where 50 to 60% of our revenue on average is commercial customers. So it is the majority of our work on average. Our strategy, if you will, there is just a long-term partnership. It's 100% relationship. Let's say a school system locally, they have a lot of buildings, they have a lot of square footage that they have to maintain and take care of. We'll build relationships with their facilities team, and they know, and we know, it's not if something happens, it's when. You just have enough buildings, there's going to be a pipe that breaks, floods the building. We know someone in the chemistry lab, something's going to go sideways and cause some little fire or something. It just happens, right? So getting in there with their team, building a relationship, educating them on how to do stuff, how to respond, how to save money in these situations, how to keep their people safer, how to recover faster. That's what's important to them. So I take a lot of that on my shoulders personally to build and cultivate those relationships. And then we always get the calls when something happens. On the residential end, the odds of someone having a fire more than once or a flood more than once is hopefully little to none. So, if someone has a catastrophic fire at their home, we have a relationship, but it's a short-term thing. It's transactional to some degree because they're just not going to do it again, or that hopefully they don't have a big fire again. So it's just performing the job to the best of our ability, taking care of them in that 3-week, 3-month, whatever that window is, period, and doing a good job. And ultimately, other people that are engaged in the job will see what we do, and that helps build our relationship. That could be the insurance company. They say, oh, Solloway did good work. It could be another contractor that they have working there, like, oh, Solloway did good work, and those people will get exposed to other people with fires and floods. So it's just that referral base, building that brand. It's slow. It's not an overnight thing. It's slow and steady wins the race.
Right. I think that's an excellent point. Very few, businesses can just go out there and just market and have overnight success. It's a long strategy.
Yeah.
So what would you say your best success was, like a recent success or a big success that you've had in terms of helping a homeowner or business recover from a loss?
Sure. We have a lot of them. I get really passionate about the business ones because I'm an entrepreneur, business owner myself, and I know, I got 20 plus full-time employees. If I had to go to them and say, hey, we had this catastrophic event happen, we have to shut down for X amount of time, they would freak out, right? Because they got bills to pay, they got, kids to feed, and that would be devastating to me personally. So it's really easy for me to sit across from the table of another business owner who's been going through this challenge and say they're freaking out because, hey, I got to do something with my business. We just have this problem. We got to get through it. So a recent example, we just earlier this summer, within the past 2 months, a local manufacturing company had a fire in their plant. It didn't destroy the building, But what happened was they had smoke and soot everywhere. So they have their plant. Um, in there, you have all their inventory, parts and stuff covered in soot. You have the workspace, the manufacturing floor where all the employees work with machines covered in soot. Not a great environment to be working in, odors, it's dangerous. So they are at a point where they thought they were going to have to shut down, but we worked together a plan with them to prioritize certain areas of the building and just work through it methodically. I think it was a 3-4 week project. We were in there. Um, it's a big apple, but you take it one bite at a time, right? And they were able to limp along slowly and get back on their feet over that period. And they had very, very little business interruption. That's the goal. If at the end of a project, a customer, specifically a business, can say, "Hey, listen, this was chaotic, scary for us, but you guys really helped us through. We stayed in business. We didn't have to lay people off or, all that stuff. We didn't lose customers because we missed production deadlines." That's the best thing we can hear at the end of a job.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
You do a lot of those. You do a lot
Yep.
of those. And you guys, like you said, you've been around for 33 years, right?
Correct. Yep.
So if there's a business owner listening, right, and they say they
Mhm.
have a loss, they say it's fire or water. I mean, it's hurricane season, so let's say water, right?
Yeah.
The second they know that they're in trouble, right? What is their first actions they should do before calling you?
So a lot of them can get overwhelmed. I mean, there's a lot of different things. Filing a claim with your insurance company, probably important. Documenting what's going on at the site is important. Pictures, notes, what's affected. And what I'm doing is prepping for them, hopefully to get reimbursed by insurance. Um, Stopping, if you can, stopping the source of the disaster. A hurricane, nature, you can't really control. If it's a pipe that breaks, you can control that to some degree, and getting a plumber or a sprinkler company out there to make the repair. Stop the bleeding. We always say stop the bleeding first, and then we'll work on triaging and kind of minimizing the damage or preventing it from spreading. Communication is huge. If I'm a business owner, you want to try and control the narrative, right? Because depending on the size or the visibility of your business, who knows? The news might try and get in there, and now rumors are started, right? Oh, so and so shutting down, and then all of a sudden your customers are freaking out and they're going elsewhere. So you want to be proactive and intelligent about how you're communicating, externally, both internally and externally. Hey, what's going on with your employees? Because they're going to be nervous and say, hey, listen, we're doing X, Y, and Z. We're going to have a daily meeting. You're going to get a daily update. So you guys aren't freaking out. We're going to do the best we can to take care of everyone. And then that, like I said, outside, last thing you want is the news showing up and be like, oh, my restaurant is shut down for 4 months. Instantly, all your customers, you just lose them, which is the worst as a business owner.
Right.
Just be transparent. Do the best you can.
All right. So let's shift gears. Let's talk more
Yeah.
about business models and tactics and strategies. So I
Mm.
just had a business owner yesterday come to me and say, hey, I have an employee and they're asking for an enormous raise, massive raise, right? And
Yeah.
this is a common thing right now because
Yeah.
I find that most employees don't have a sense of what it takes to operate a business, and that if you're an employee, I need to make money on you, right? I can get four
Yep.
quarters of a dollar
Yep.
anywhere, so I
Yep.
am leveraging your skill set to pay
Yep.
you so that I can make some money. And the amount that this position would typically pay, right? He's already paying more than that anyways. He's at least 35% higher already.
Yeah.
And this person came back and asked for another huge raise and to double their bonuses. And the bonuses weren't bad. I mean, it was really good. Um, how do you personally manage employees with I don't want to say unreasonable because they're trying to meet their needs, but just
Yeah.
misformed expectations, I think is probably a better way of putting it.
Yeah. I think it's tough. I mean, if you're having a conversation just like you described, I don't want to say it's too late in the situation, but to back up ahead of that is, I think a decent level of transparency with your team, so they know how the company is doing, performing what you're looking for, communicating goals is important, because then I don't want to say it prevents people from coming in from left field with crazy demands. I think that business owner would identify those requests as crazy, or at least difficult, hard to, maybe unrealistic, like you said. So, for example, uh, company quarterly reviews. So sitting down, your employees, key employees, depending on the size of your company, and just say, hey, listen, here are the highlights, here are the lowlights from the last quarter. Here's where we can improve. Here's where we excelled. Even sharing, hey, we were profitable 2 out of the last 3 months. This 1 month out of the quarter, we took a bath. Here's why. Employees see that they might not understand all the components to running a business and all that stuff, but at least they get where the company is. And if they know, hey, we're only 5% profitable for this year, asking for a 35% raise may not be, in their, in the company's ability to do. You know, it's been, I would say, I think it's shifting. It is shifting, but it's been an employees market for the last few years, right? Would you agree?
Oh, more than few, yeah.
Correct, because unemployment's been low for the most part. You know, salaries have been going up, so it's been in the favor of the employees. I see that shifting even now back to the employer. It always goes back and forth. So ultimately, it's communication between you and your employees and building that relationship. And to that, if that employer came to me with that specific situation right now, I would just tell them, hey, have a deeper discussion with your employee, get to know their goals, get to know, where they are in their life phase. And maybe there's other things outside of salary that could satisfy their needs, right? Maybe it's just as simple as, hey, they're stressed about some stuff at family, and they just need an extra day off a month or two just to handle stuff at home. And that might mean 10 times more than any kind of salary increase, right? Just to know that you care in that capacity. Maybe they just feel tired, or they're not learning. So maybe investing in some industry education for them will make them feel more appreciated, and that you care about them as an employee, because everyone's motivated by different things. It's not all money. The conversation, it's lazy and easy to make it all about money. And that's for the employees and the employers. Like, be creative. If it's not a win-win both directions, it's not going to be a long-term relationship.
Right. I think you nailed it. I think those are all great answers, because I thought about it, because I see it all the time. Like, I think that employees just think that all business owners are making, piles of cash, and that's just not how it goes. Some months are good, some months are bad.
Yeah.
A lot of employers, if they're lucky enough to give themselves a paycheck, every 2 weeks, that's great. But most people take most of their pay at the end of the year. So it's different for every industry, and I think it's also different for them. I think too that inflation is really starting to hit everybody. It's really starting to hit everybody, including the employees. And the sad thing is that you know raises are not going to keep up with it. They're just not going to, and we're going to go through a rough time. And it's one of those things that feeds into it, right? Because people are going to cut back, and when people cut back, that impacts the economy. It's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds in the next few years.
Yep.
All right. So the next question I have for you, I love asking this question of all of my guests. What is one of the most serious challenges that you've had to overcome, right? Because we talk about crises in business, whether it's a new business or an existing business, there's always going to be crises, right? It's part of being an entrepreneur. It's part of being a business owner, and solving those crises are big. So this tends to be a question everyone has an answer for, especially because you're still in business, but everyone wants to hear the answers, because someone out there is going through a challenge that you can relate to right now. So my question is, what is the largest challenge, at least that you're willing to talk about, that you've had to overcome and survived, and how hard was it?
Yeah, I mean, I can come up with a lot of different answers.
Right.
It's I think I'm just numb to them, so I might not even, what might be a crisis to someone else is just another day in business here. I don't know. Everyone wears different things. I mean, our business, our service that we provide is literally dealing with crises every day. So no one calls here because they want to be dealing with the situation they're going through. It's like an emergency room doctor, right? They see crazy stuff every day. And while you think your broken arm is the end of the world, they don't really give a crap, to be honest, right? It's just another, yeah, we're going to put it together. And I'm not saying, the doctors don't care. I'm just saying, they know what to do. They do their job. They put you back together and they move on to the next one. They see it every day. That's kind of like us with the crises that we're dealing with.
Right.
Someone's home is messed up or their business is, going through an issue. They're freaking out, but we got to be the professionals. We got to be calm. We got to educate them. We got to put together a plan. And so, we got to be that guiding light for them. So, I guess we're numb to crises, so we're just used to solving problems all day long for other people. When they happen internally, I don't think we're unique than any other business, right? We've been through partnership breakups. We've been through, overcoming, a lot of debt to having no debt. I'm very proud of that. We've overcome employee challenges, people quitting unexpectedly, people stealing, people causing damage on job sites. I mean, you name it. We've dealt with it. I don't want to say we've seen everything, because as soon as you say that, something even crazier happens. I mean, people going nuts. I mean, people don't want to bring it up. Lawsuits, right? A customer sues you. That's just a complete crazy person. We're of the nature, if we do something wrong, we own it and fix it. If not, then well, you're falsely accusing me of something. We're going to have to go through the process and fight. It's just a pain in the butt, but that's running a business, right?
Right.
I know those are vague things. I don't know if anything caught your attention you want to dig into more, but
yeah. I would say less than the incident, like, right, and it's more about the owner. Like all owners run into this. Like you talked about debt. Somehow are trying to get over debt. Sometimes people have cash flow issues, right? And they're like, oh my God, how am I going to stay in business? Or their best employee leaves, right? The guy
check.
Right. Yeah. That you spent, God, tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars of training and whatever, and they leave. These are all crises that all businesses suffer and have to plow through. And I guess the wisdom that I'm trying to get from business owners is like, when someone is just think that all hope is lost and they're just because I've been there, it's been a while, but I've been there like, oh my God, I have no idea how I'm going to survive. Right. How do you do it? How do you manage those emotions, and what do you do mentally to push forward?
Sure. I think a lot of it boils down to experience in history and context. The more you go through those challenging times, the less challenging they become, if that makes sense. That's the experience level. When you have a history and a track record of overcoming things, they're a big deal, but they don't put you down. You don't lose sleep over stuff because there's a solution for everything, and it's just a matter of finding it and executing it. And then it's funny when you look back on things in the moment, things always feel bigger than they are. And I would say that for wins and losses. But when you look back at some of the things that you were losing sleep about, stress and freaking out, and you get 2-3 years ahead of that, it's in your rearview mirror, you're like, you know what? It wasn't as bad as I thought. And I'm not trying to downplay any challenging times for people, because we've had some dark times, but the further it gets in your rearview mirror, I can't say it enough. You build confidence upon overcoming it and just enduring it and figuring it out. And honestly, I don't know how many people would say this out loud. Entrepreneurs thrive in that situation because they like to be challenged. They don't like punching a clock. They don't like the daily grind or they love grinding, and getting out there and hustling, but they just don't like monotony, is what I'm saying. So those little spikes and challenges, I think they can reinvigorate entrepreneurs because they thrive under pressure.
I have to agree with that last point. Manage chaos. That's that's where I thrive.
Yeah. What have you done yourself to like overcome some like hard times like that?
It's different. If you'd asked me that question 30 years ago, I'd give a completely different answer, and it wouldn't be any less true. So what I do nowadays is I make sure I'm getting enough rest. Right? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I eating well? Am I getting enough quiet time so that I can calm my nervous system? Right? Because for me, and I know this is true with a lot of people, if I am keyed up all the time, that anxiety, it's like a grinder. It wears me down. Then you become emotional and you start making poor decisions, and then you
Yep.
pound the issue. So if it's not something that it's like, if it doesn't have to be handled immediately, I'll take a breath and I'll really think about it. I'll try and get some space. I'll try and make sure that I'm in a good headspace. And that's helped. I mean, I would say over the last, I've gone through a lot of growth over the last 3 years, just insane growth. And there are crises with growth. They're different, but there are crises with growth.
Yeah.
And so I've had to manage those stresses. And I guess the formula is pretty much the same. What's the problem? What are the potential solutions? Plan it out. Is it going to cost money? How much? Plan it out, you know, and just execute. And to execute for me, I need rest. Some people, when I was younger, I could just go, 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 go. I was just like Energizer Bunny. But
Yep.
now it's, am I getting my 8 hours? That's how I do it. But that's a great question.
Yep.
So I guess one of the things that we do, and one of the reasons why I started this podcast is I want to encourage other entrepreneurs. I want to encourage more entrepreneurship. I think that it's not a panacea, but it goes a long way to curing a lot of the problems that we have in society today. Because I think a lot of people, when they demand more money and they demand stuff from the government and they want more taxes, they don't understand, because of lack of information and experience, what they're actually asking. And when you're an entrepreneur, you're exposed to the universe, to the world, to the country, to the government, to the tax system in a way that you wouldn't otherwise ever see. And so it educates you. And I think, and also, like, if I had a choice, like, I would never work for anyone ever, right? And we all
Hmm.
start off young, and we start off working for people. And I think that entrepreneurship is the one of the great solutions to a lot of our problems. So my question for you is, how would you encourage someone to get started? Because look, it's not for the faint of heart. It's hard.
Hmm.
The failure rate is high. But how would you encourage someone to get started? And what are some, some wisdom that you would pass along?
Sure. And get started in entrepreneurship.
Yeah. In
I'm going to
business.
ask a qualifying question.
Sure.
What age? What career?
Let's say
Stage.
after college. Let's say 22,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
22.
So 2023 right now. You're 20, early 20s. Uh, people always say, "Oh, find what you're passionate about." That's good. Figure out what some of your goals are. Understand they're going to change every few years. I get it. Where we are right now in the marketplace and society, I mean, look for opportunities. Where I see massive, massive opportunities is to acquire a business that's already established. And let me explain. Everyone, when they think entrepreneurship, I assume a lot of people's mind goes to, hey, I'm going to start something from scratch. I'm going to bootstrap this thing, blah, 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 which is good. That's how most people do it. But there are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people right now with small local businesses that are very, very successful. And the owners don't know what the heck they're going to do in the next 5 years. And I'm talking about boomers. So again, I mentioned at the beginning, look at what your market opportunities are in your early 20s right now, 2023. You have a lot of baby boomers that don't know what they're doing with their businesses. They've run it for 20, 30, 40 years. Maybe their kids don't want it. Maybe they don't have kids. Maybe they're getting to the point of burnout, or they've just, they've got all the money they need and they're just, they got this great asset. I would, and it's going to take a little bit of work, but seek out those people and see if there might be an opportunity to acquire that business. I don't have $1 million to buy, a local plumbing company or whatever. Work for them, learn from them, tell them, hey, this is a long-term career path I want to potentially explore. Will you hire me? Start from the ground up and work your tail off. Learn from every single person in the company, especially the ones that have been there a long time. And maybe you'll get to a point where you sit down with the owner and say, hey, listen, can we come up with a plan in the next X amount of years, 2, 3 years, whatever? Let's work out a buyout plan because I want this company. And I would look. That's the economic cycle I think we're in, as far as if I'm early 20s. It's a huge opportunity. And then in industries, I'm partial because I'm in the blue collar trades world. You can make a lot of money in spaces where people don't want to do the work, right? And it's probably not sexy stuff. It's You're not going to get popular online with your friends and all the social media crap. Um, but you can take a non-sexy industry and find a niche and do really, really well because it's a needed and necessary service. So I know that was long-winded, like most of my answers probably will be, but
No, but they're just so, I mean, that was one of the best answers I've ever heard, right? Go find an industry you think you want to learn and offer
mhm,
to buy the business because
yeah,
you're going to get the training. They're going to pay you to do it. You're going to take
yeah,
that money that you got, you're going to put it back in there to buy it. And oftentimes, it's not a full buyout, right? The previous
right,
owner is required to hold at least 33% equity if you're getting a bank loan, right? And
yep,
that keeps them involved, and you have a built-in coach, and you're giving them money. That
yep,
was a brilliant answer. That was an
yep,
absolutely brilliant answer,
yeah.
right? Because
That's
you're
why I
not
asked.
started.
Yeah, that's why I asked the age, like the qualifying question. If you're 55 years old, I don't know if that model will work because the the business owners 10 years, 15 years older than you. So I mean, I don't know what your plan, their personal plans. But if I'm 20, coming out of college, hell, if I'm in high school or college, I'm going through the same process. I'm looking out if I want to be an entrepreneur, you're going to learn more from those business owners that have been doing things 20, 30, 40 years than you will from any class, any seminar,
Yep.
you know, guaranteed.
I'm in agreement there. And I think
Yeah.
that the opportunity for business owners in the blue collar fields is enormous because I just heard a stat the other day that for every five people retiring, there's only one new worker coming on, and they expect that gap to grow to 20 to 1.
Yeah.
So we're not going to have people with skill sets to build houses anymore. So if you're one of the few people who does, you're going to own the market. You're going to be making a lot of money.
Think
Um,
about it. It's very obvious, right?
yeah, it is. It is very obvious. Um, yeah, there's just so much going on. All right, so I guess let's move into personal growth. Like
Hmm.
one of the things that I've noticed about all entrepreneurs is that you grow whether you want to or not. If you're going to be successful, you have to overcome your own personal demons, whatever it is that's holding you back in life, because it holds back your business as well. And for myself, I've gotten involved with a lot of different coaches, and some are extraordinarily helpful and some aren't. But I guess my question for you would be, what did you learn about yourself being an entrepreneur? Like what are the surprise lessons that have altered your perspective on life as a result of being an entrepreneur?
Hmm. Great question. So relationships are key. I think even your circles get smaller and smaller the older you get, I guess, and the more experience. But those relationships get deeper and deeper, uh, and you value them more and more. For example, one of the things that surprised me as an entrepreneur is your maturity level when it pertaining to your competition. And this is a very niche and weird random answer, but I have amazing relationships with my competition in my own marketplace, where not everyone, but a lot of people, where we have found that we can help each other more than we can hurt each other. I mean, when you're immature and young, you're like, yeah, I'm going to crush everyone and own the market and all this stuff, and that's could apply to some markets and some industries, but at least where I am in the industry that I'm in, the space that I service, um, we help each other a lot, and I value those relationships immensely. So that's locally. On a national level, I collaborate with my peers who are at similar career and company life cycle phases, and I can just call anyone up right now. I can call a buddy up in, say, Rhode Island or Texas or Florida, and just say, hey, Joe Blow, this is what I'm dealing with. How have you dealt with this in the past? And they're like, oh yeah, this is what we did. This is who we used. This was the outcome. I'm like, thank you. And they'll do the same to me. I get calls every day from local and national contacts that I have, just chewing through ideas. They're almost like therapy sessions. But
Right?
so that surprised me. You know, over the years, it's not more about just operating in the day to day. It's more about you know working, collaborating with others to make you better and make others better. Serving others, it always comes back around to help you. You don't serve others because you want something out of it. You just do it because that's in your heart and that's who you are. But it's amazing how things come back around and help you out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that was a great answer. I think a lot of people, especially when they're young entrepreneurs, see their competitors as an adversarial relationship. And it's easy to
Right.
see, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes it is, right?
Yep.
I think if you want to grow, if you want to settle down, you build strong relationships with them too, right?
Yep.
Because
Absolutely.
at least there's some trust there. I agree. I think there's more of that. You know what they say about whenever you're doing any marketing or anything, it's like offer something of value, right? Don't invite people to your page to spend money. Give them something for free. Give them something
Yep.
of value. And I think that that's true with competitors, right? If you guys are providing value with each other, you'll treat each other better, and you'll send
Yep.
like I can't take every client that comes to me, right? So I send them somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you want to have working relationships with your competitors,
Yep.
right? Because they will send you business.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Is there anything that you wanted to close the conversation out with? Anything that you wanted to share? Any successes?
Let's see. No, I mean, what's been your favorite part of this doing this podcast so far? What surprised you from some of the conversations you've had?
That, I've always considered myself a pretty good interviewer because years ago I did something similar. But
Mhm.
it's always about at the 10-minute point that we get into the meat of the conversations, right?
Mhm.
People settle down and their minds aren't racing anymore, and then we get to some really good answers. Like, I am blown away at how different every entrepreneur is and how different all their perspectives are and how their successes evolved are all different. And all that tells me is there's just so many ways to be successful. So many different people and personality styles can be successful. And the idea that no one can do this, I don't know if I buy into it. I think that if you want it, that's the only prerequisite. You got to want it. Anyone can be an entrepreneur. Anybody. Some of us just make a lot more mistakes along the way. It's like what the guy from the colonel from Kentucky Fried Chicken. You mean how many no's did he get before he got a loan? How many businesses did he have before he got a successful business?
Right.
And in today's day and age, with the amount of information that's out there, you can cut out a lot of the mistakes, right? Because you have the formula for success is out there. You just got to do it. You just got to do it. And I think it's less competitive now than it has ever been. And that may change. The economy
Yeah.
shifts. But it's like everyone wants you to succeed, right? Everyone, because if you succeed, someone else is just going to do business with you, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's just the more businesses that are out there, the more businesses that can be built off of that. And that was my long-winded answer.
Cool. No, thank you for having me on the show. Very good work.
Well, thank you. Well, all right. So let's bring this to a close. I say thanks again to Josh Solloway for bringing the thunder today. You're going to get his email and contact information. It'll be below in the video on YouTube, and we'll get this shared out to everyone. So thanks for showing up for this episode. Josh, say thanks.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it.